Bismillah ar-Rahman. What a great pleasure to be here and be in the business community. And obviously, a military leader talking about the business is pretty weird. What we do is that a lot of you that I know are pretty good business leaders. So we'll share a few of the experiences. And for me to accept this invitation, it's my pleasure. But I think Talib Saab coming out to Islamabad with the Institute of Business Management, I had a wonderfully good interaction with the faculty at the students. I enjoyed it very much at their headquarters. And of course, coming from him, I just couldn't have refused. So I'm right there and we'll talk about it. Disruption, I think we did talk about in technology. And when I was speaking in one of the seminars, I went through the dictionary and I thought, let me find a positive meaning of this word. Disruption is all about, negative connotations. And one word which came out was doing things unconventionally. And there's so much talked about innovation and technology. But doing things in an unconventional way is one of the positive attributes of the leadership. And I think that's where I'm going to build up a few things in the next about 15, 20 minutes. All right. The basic attributes of leadership revolve around so many things. There's about the dedication, commitment, ownership, like Simandar said, they're all there. But what's your purpose? And for all of us who sit here, whether in the military, civil, the purpose is Pakistan. And the purpose is our country. There is so much in this country, and I don't say that for the rhetoric. I've seen it so closely. I've seen the people. I've seen businessmen, military, everybody together. And I find a huge majority, other than the population birthright, the senior people who have got that vision to take forward. And of course, the exuberance in the youth to take that forward. Believe you me, I've lectured all around the world, and I find that so positive in our country. And I'm so very proud that we're born here. We're born 100 times. We better be born in this country. There's so much out here. All right, we did talk about the aviation city, but there is a story to it, and I think the story and the narratives take you much closer. I was given a big responsibility when I was the operations chief 5 years before. Last 3 years was the air chief, and when I became the operations chief, the Zarbeas, when all those terrorism, everything was on our mind. And we recall in our own country 2 to 3 suicide attacks and all that was going on. And we went on in a very big manner. And I said that yesterday in a seminar, that the kind of security challenge that we had, none of us realizes it. These are not the nomads or the non-state actors of ordinary class. They were the best trained terrorists done by our enemies. Put us out there so that we reduce the capability of this country, and then next day the Indians should knock at our door and ask us how the thing's working. Name one country in the world which has fought the terrorism in the same manner. What's happened to the Middle East, what has happened to North Africa, and what not. But God has blessed this nation with such great people who have fought this. 45,000 civilians, 6,500 soldiers, 14,000 lost their limbs. $110 billion is a figure that is with the States Bank, that the money, the kind of one nation which has stood up with this. None. And I see that very clearly. People have succumbed to the pressures, and they've devastated their infrastructure, their ability to function, but none of them has happened. We continue to move forward. So the optimism that you talk about, I see it, practical optimism. But then what is that responsibility on the leaders to make it forward? And let me say that very, very clearly. It is the ability of the leader. It is his resolve. It's about his vision, which can take things forward, and there's just no stopping. Your ability, and that's an important sentence, your ability to convert challenges to opportunities is what is all about leadership. You'll get difficulties, you'll get difficult situations at times, but that be it. You need to take it forward. If you have that love for your country, and you have that love for the people and the children that you've shown here, are future generations, and they deserve it. You don't do it, then we will be remembered with bad names when the time comes. Now, I'll give you 1 or 2 stories, and then we wind up the whole thing. When I became the operations chief, we've had, if you guys recall, some terrible attack on one of our bases, and that was Kamra base, where we lost one of our AVAX aircraft. And the AVAX are the war-winning machine. And I think this is a very important story. And we tell you that within your own departments, and when you get difficulties and when you bog down with so many issues, how can you really turn that, the sentence, challenges to opportunities? And believe you me, I must say that I'm totally humbled, and my contribution into all this has been minimal. But then how does the organization, your immediate subordinates, the people that you trust, how can you team up? And how can you say, we need to do it? And when I took over, it's been 6 months that the attack had taken place. I visited the base, I think second day of my tenure. I saw one aircraft totally gone. This was $1.4 billion deal, and we're going to pay even now for these 4 aeroplanes for the next, I think, about 10 to 12 years. We're still paying. It's such a great loss. Air Force lost the capability of fighting significantly that night. And I have no doubt in my mind who was behind us. This aeroplane does not do anything to the terrorists. So I think the obvious implication was the Indians. And we quickly went around and we called the SAB Swedish company. We got into discussions with them, and they put a price tag of $387 million to repair the aeroplanes, but then said, we will not certify the aeroplane. And I didn't even understand what's a true certification agency. But I did understand that this is an important thing. And ladies and gentlemen, that day I had put just 2 PhD guys. Just 2 PhD guys, brilliant ones. And I said, get this damn thing around. What is this certification agency all about? And believe me, you can't drive a car or a motorcycle if it is not certified. What to talk of an aeroplane and AVAX? It's a very, very sophisticated machine. It took only 2 years for these 2 engineers to work out what is the certification agency, what needs to be done. And ladies and gentlemen, 1.5 years down the line, we were the 5th certification agency in the world, alhamdulillah. We do our own weapons, we make our own weapons, we certify them, and today the JF-17 you talked about, I vouch for it. JF-17 in 4 domains supersedes the F-16s far more than any other aeroplane would do. What else could have? So that challenge of aeroplanes into the dustbin, and you create a certification agency. And the SAB, I remember, I'm not an engineer, but then looking at the aeroplane, I said, we can. The very feel of a leader that can be done is important. इसको उर्दू में 8/8 भी कहते हैं, और you say हो जाएगा. No, this is important. You get the feeling in your gut and you say this can be done, and it is important. And I remember at the end of the discussion, I shook hands with the SAB leader and I said, how's Linköping? And I was wing commander and I was flying Gripens there, and he said, we were talking about the SAB. I said, no, we're not talking about the SAB. We'll repair this aeroplane ourselves. And he looked at me and he smiled. And he was right that we didn't have capability to repair those aeroplanes at all. These are very sophisticated aeroplanes, I say that. And one more thing. When as a leader you decide to do something big, people will think you're stupid and you fool. They'll smile, they'll laugh, that be it. Please remember, the fools who think they can change the world, they're the ones who change the world. This is written in a very bold manner in our operations branch, which runs the Air Force. Believe you me, let people smile at you, let people think. And of course, your own feeling of doing things should be right. So we went on and we got these boys again. The PhDs were working out the thermal stresses and the other stresses. As a leader, you may not understand everything, but your involvement, and I think you very correctly said, how much are you involved into the whole thing? For me, not really to understand what was going on, but I was under these 2 aeroplanes a lot of times talking to the technicians. What's going on? Ho jayega? Kya banega? And of course, I was 2 months down the line, we were repairing the aeroplanes. SAB wanted an appointment. They came in, $161 million. And I said, you're not talking about the repairs. And thank God I took that decision of not getting them. I said, you just give us the space and we'll repair the aircraft. And they said, you don't understand it. So I went out to Sweden, they asked for it Friday night. Saturday, Sunday, we did some discussions. You know what was the contract for the repair finalized? How much money? $25.5 million. Okay. We repaired these aircraft, and the SAB leader came in and he said, Sohail, you have done it, all right, we would have done it in the same manner, but the aeroplane is not certified. And I think there are different shades of leadership. And honestly, believe you me, I feel like sharing all these shades because you will be required to put these shades into you'll have to lead from the front. There is a concept of lead from the behind as well, but I mean, whatever it is, but you need to be in the crisis time, you need to be right there in front and face it and take it. The NASA went 1976, shuttle into the space, it went, tumbled into the sea, and the chief NASA goes out to the media and he says, I'm sorry, it's my fault, and I take full responsibility, we'll fix it. And he goes out. 2 years down the line, they do the same thing once again, and it's a great success. You know what he does? He pushes the project director to the media, and he said, he's the man who does it, and he walks out. So when it is tough, when the going is tough, take the responsibility. Get in there, and when it comes to giving credit, give it all to your juniors. And give it to them. Praise them. And these boys and girls, they just need that spirit. So he said, Sohail, you repaired the aeroplanes, we still have doubts, and we didn't have a certification agency by then. And I said, no, we have a beautiful certification agency, you don't understand this. I have signed this aeroplane, and I will pilot this aircraft. If the aircraft goes down, I take this responsibility. And he said, as an air chief, you want to do it? And I said, yes. I flew the first aircraft, and the aircraft flew almost flawlessly. Till the last day, about 1.5 months before when I retired, I would see these aeroplanes flying in a perfect manner. And this is a very, very, very important point here. These aeroplanes were flying, and we wanted to contract 3 more. And the costs were about twice than what we had paid for. And I said, no, hold on. You take a lot of money for the workmanship. And the technicians that you have in this country, aviation that you talked about, are amazing. They are the world-class technicians. And I said, my technicians will go, they'll fix up the aeroplanes. What is the big deal about it? Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the 387 to 25.5 was not the, for that incident to put us on a track of indigenization was the real dividend. And we contracted the aeroplanes. First one is coming next month, next one next year, the next one next year. These are the war-winning machines. Like I said, can you believe? 35% less cost than the contract we made for the first time. You save that national exchequer money because of your expertise. So what we need to do is that use our expertise, use our brain. We are the 4th intelligent country in the world with such a huge population which is vibrant to do things. Depriving them of jobs and not really putting them to the good places is our fault. I mean, engineers used to be going out of the service, trying to go away and do some other jobs because of lack of opportunities. Since the aviation city came up, I mean, the engineers and the PhDs are coming back and they really want to contribute. Next quick one was that when doing the surveys, the weapons were going in a very, very big manner, and I was always very worried. And of course, that's the strategy that let the armed forces get totally embroiled with the whole thing. Not that I am from the Air Force, but the fact is more than 90% of the killing of the terrorists and the infrastructure, everything was taken up by the Air Force. That security, which has been brought to the country, and I think there are 3 important words, it is about the security. And I'm so happy to be in Karachi and to see people come back to life and walk without the security guards, get next to the stability. And that comes from education, the political stability, and get everything sorted out. And last is about the prosperity. All this leads to bringing prosperity to the people. And these weapons in the surveyors were going like crazy. And I knew for sure we may like to be friends with everybody, but the West, one has to be very, very careful. And each of these weapons, okay, these weapons are only and only made by United States. These are such weapons that you can throw a bomb from, laser-guided bomb from 25,000 feet on a pitch dark night, and it can go through this window. It's that accurate. And that is how we went through it, because if we were supposed to be killing the terrorists deep into the caves, and in Mir Ali ki ek bahut badi gali ke andar hame third house lena tha, we didn't want to really kill anybody else. We went in with this. And one day I said, let's see what's so big about these weapons. Now this is that feel of that leader when you take initiatives and you get that done. Ladies and gentlemen, the Russians make it, the Chinese make it, the French make these weapons, but of course the most accurate weapons are by the Americans, and you can't afford to, because of collateral losses, you can't make any other weapon, you can't use other weapons. What is 8 months? 8 months down the line, your same engineers, same people, not only develop these weapons, but our results on the first 3 trials were far better than the American weapons. Wow. This is amazing. This, as a leader, you love it, you enjoy it when you see the organization doing so well, and you're yourself surprised. And of course, your faith, your love for the country, and your drive that you really want to turn it absolutely as colorful as it was shown. And I think this all was happening within the first 6 months of my tenure. And the rest 2.5 years was spent on really making that happen very, very quickly. And they stopped our air-to-air refueling, and the air-to-air refueling, all the aircraft were down. Air-to-air refueling, the fighters plug into these aircraft and their range gets double or more than that. So you can strike enemy territories far deeper. And we said, all right, open up the bloody aeroplanes. What's so big? The ability to take that risk. The Chinese put our JF-17s down for no damn reason. I said, this is the problem, and you just can't operate the JF-17s. I said, open the aircraft and let me see what is the issue with the aeroplane. And we went through these overall inspections, and 1 year down the line, the Chinese were asking us, can you give us the checklist for what kind of overall have you done? And I said, yeah, this cost $150 million. You can take the checklist from us. And I was very serious, and I said, we have worked a lot, we've done a lot of R&D. The kind of money that these OEMs take from you is huge, and it's all here. It's not that money out there. You need to utilize all this. And last thing on this is, I knew that for times to come, we will continue to depend on China, Russia, or the West for the next generation aircraft. Our JF-17 is wonderfully well. I talked about it, and I said, all right, let's put the things together, and I'm now coming to the aviation city. At the birth of aviation city, so this was the background where the organization was getting strength, that it can be done. And I said, let's put a university, and that's a very good example for the leaders. Let's put the industry and academia together. This was the only thought in our mind the first six months. No aviation city, nothing. And the presentation which came up was, इसके करीब इतने पुराने विलेज हैं, इसके करीब इतना ये सब कुछ है, and you can't have a university in Kamra. And I looked at it and I said all those factors, and of course not recommended. Everybody was saying, yes, it's a bad idea to make a university in Kamra. And I said, look, the thought was different. You need to put the academia industry together so that you can progress to the next generation. And of course the technology that we talked about. I said, "Inhi paise bahut lag rahe." I said, all right, address all this and we make a town here. And everybody smiled. And they said, the chief's kind of crazy. We wanted to have a university. We're telling him that you can't have a university, and he wants to make a town here. And I was serious. And now let me confess, I did not understand the entire mechanics what this aviation city would come about. And that's okay for a leader. Appoint. And have gifted this plaque to each of my leaders when I came out. Take the first step in faith. Take the first step in faith. You may not see the whole staircase. Take the first step. And that's the leadership all about. I think it's with a beautiful picture of a huge mountain and a man standing and looking at this mountain, how steep it is. And he says, no, I need to go in. And I said, let's make the aviation city. If you keep waiting, now that's very important. If you keep waiting for everything to get right, you'll never get right. Get going. And I said, we don't want to wait for 2 years to make a building for the university, PSC Cup. I went out to the PSC and I said, ye 2 buildings khali kare. This is the university. And I came back and we worked. Yes, what is, buildings can be made, infrastructure can be done. It's what you're going to teach there. What are you going to really put, and as a brain there is important. I'm not an engineer, I didn't understand, but I was sitting with the faculty to draw what kind of curriculum is required there. Unfortunately, our industry does not support our academia in that manner. The foreign industry does, but then we sat down, we decided what all of it taught. 3 months down the line, the masters and the PhD classes started. The Air Force boys were in. Morning you work, come evening for the classes. Today, the university is 2 years old with the first masters graduated and the PhD classes going on. They're studying exactly what is to be done. What is the flight control system? What is to be done? So today, if I had waited for the infrastructure, aviation, and of course we quietly bought the land in that area, and Prime Minister was there on the inauguration, and of course we got the special economic zone that was talked about. Do you think it was all in your mind? None. So your ability to see in the dark and say, all right, this is an opportunity, I'll do it. So you have the industry, you've got the university, academia industry is done. You have the certification agency which sits on top of them and see what it is doing. And last, and this was again very stupid, but perfect. I said, why don't we make our next jet aircraft? And like you've seen, we're making the JF-17, but the JF-17 is moderately a 4th generation aircraft. The technology is too intensive. And everybody said it's only the United States which makes the 5th generation aircraft. And I said it was only the United States which made those specialized weapons. You made them, no? And your organization, you enjoy it, they get crazy, and they feel happy, and all PhDs were running in. We put that, and I invite you to come into Aviation City one day. Have a look at the way the boys and girls, the entire, except the top guy who's a group captain, who's a full colonel, he's not very senior, but he's a brain. Rest is all, I think 20% are military, 80% are the brightest students of the country who are sitting there. 25, 35, that's all. I think very few in the 30s. And when you see them working on the design of the project, and we decided to do it, I mean, you have to give them the resources. You have to give them this courage, and that's about it. Okay. And the project is named AZM. The Aviation City is established, and we have people like Simedar Saab who are involved. Did I understand that we'll have such a great cooperation by them who started to guide us? There are investors who are just jumping into the whole thing. The Middle East, everybody wants to get in there. There's an opportunity. I'm so thankful to those 6 terrorists who came to Kamra, attacked us, showed us the way that we can lead it there. So ladies and gentlemen, your ability to convert challenges into opportunities, your ability to see in the haze, your ability to take that initiative and let everybody be convinced that what you are doing is with firm foot, and you may be having some butterflies in the stomach, but never outside. It doesn't mean that you lie to your people. You speak to them, you talk to them, but then ultimately get going. Last point. Steve Jobs, your ability or your burning desire to make a dent in the universe is what makes you a good leader. And you can do that. And sorry, the last point. It's not about, we did talk about job and aviation cities and weapons and aeroplanes. Believe you me, it's not about the job and the people. It's about the people and the job. End of the day, when I've left the service, these all are important. These make my country stronger. They take you forward. But it's about the people. It's about the destitutes. It's about the Shohada's families. I think we did our best to make sure that we can make their lives better. If your objective is to get all those people to a place where they can be respected, I'm so happy that the Shohada family, children, they're going and studying in the best universities of the world. I'm not a businessman at all. I didn't even make my own house because I was too scared of this project. But believe me, in these 3 years, we have gone through major business projects of making buildings into the convention centers. I think right next to the PFA's facility, you'll have in 3 months a beautiful Falcon complex coming up. all this money is coming to make the lives of the destitutes better, not only of the Air Force, but all those who are across. The Rashidabad chain is a chain of 6 villages. The first one is made, 3 have started, and it's about public schools, widow centers, hospitals, deaf and dumb centers, and so many others. So while you work for your country to make it beautiful, never ever lose sight of the destitutes, never ever lose sight of the poor. It is your duty to make their lives better. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.